Well, thanks everybody for joining us tonight. My name is Simon Yost, your host on Catch Fire Show. Catch Fire is a podcast and a video podcast about folks being successful in non-traditional career paths. So we're really excited you joined us tonight for Leslie Gill. She's the Executive Director of Rung for Women in the Fox Park neighborhood of St. Louis. We'll roll the intro and then here we go.
Has always been the key motivator.
I'll never forget my first time on the air.
This biomed stuff is really cool.
I daydream, I just do dreams. Built to fire, no camping. Imagine your next chapter for uncommon paths. It's the roadmap. With special guests you can learn from, more valuable than a treasure chest. Unlocking knowledge, catch fire, turn impossible to a playground. Difficulties we do them in like a pool table, got holes for 'em. Inspiration, catch fire, find your passion and live for it. Start bold, it gets harder, dig further. Inspiration, catch fire, find your passion and live for it.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us tonight. We're here with Leslie Gill. I'll bring her in. Hey, Leslie, how you doing?
Hi, Simon.
Cool. We have a little music.
I
try
love
not to
it.
dance too much
need
'cause
I need that at this time of day.
Oh man. Well, I mean, today was a little sunny, but it's been a little dreary, like a little springish too.
Yeah,
So,
I'll take it.
yeah. Well, so we're both here in St. Louis, and we have had several folks from St. Louis on the show, but we share a little bit of a connection in that your organization is in my neighborhood. I live a few blocks, like a real few blocks, not like how people say that sometimes, and it's really like 20 minutes. Like, really?
Like as they say, a stone's throw.
Stone's throw. So I was just like blown away when you all came into the neighborhood because I mean, throughout the neighborhood, there are still some buildings that are vacant or, I mean, I wasn't really bothered by it personally, but when you all started construction, I had no idea. I mean, literally transformed the block. I mean, landscaping in the whole 9 yards. I mean, you all came in and really, I think, set up a new anchor for the neighborhood. Was that an intent?
Oh, definitely. So, as we explored where we wanted to locate Rung for Women in the region, we knew we wanted to be in a neighborhood, and we knew we wanted to be an anchor in a neighborhood. And so, finding 3.7 acres in the heart of the city was not easy to do. And so when we found this gem of a site, we were like, okay, this is it. So yes, it was very intentional.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay. So just, we'll kind of, we have a little time here, so we'll kind of explore, but just to start where you're at right now, can you kind of give us a little zoom in of what your current role is and what you do there?
Sure. So I am president of Rung for Women. It is a nonprofit organization based here in St. Louis. Our goal is to help women elevate their lives, and that is by achieving personal and professional goals. We match women with coaches, life coaches, executive coaches, and really focus on elevation. And so I like to say we work with women to help them thrive and not just survive, and really move up the economic opportunity ladder. And so that's a fancy way of saying we want more women to make more money in their lifetimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, wealth disparity. I mean, we could probably do 10 podcasts and not even scrape the surface of that topic. But is this something that you've thought about for a few years of your life, or an issue that's been close?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for most of my life, economic disparity, gender disparities have been, part of my world. I, worked in prior to coming to Rung for Women. I was the CEO of Malone Children and Family Services, which is a 130-year-old child welfare agency that really provide services for children who are abused and neglected. And, really my motivation for coming to Rung was because I was tired of seeing kids of kids come into foster care. And so I was like, there has to be a better way. There has to be a better solution to stopping poverty, ending poverty, breaking the cycles of poverty. And then, I look at my own family. While my parents were college educated, there was always poverty around me in my community, in my neighborhood. And so, yes, there have been disparities, in my neighborhood, in my family for my entire life.
Yes. I think when we moved from Nebraska, grew up in Nebraska to St. Louis, and so came for Teach for America. My wife did Teach for America, and it felt like we kind of parachuted in, like, one of those things you pick out an apartment in 36 hours, and then a few months later come back and move in, kind of a thing. And I think what there's two sides, I think, to this kind of neighborhood thing of St. Louis, right? There's this thing of like, oh, it's kind of cool because there's some different vibes, but then you start to see kind of how that came to be, and it's not pretty. It's not pretty at all.
Yeah, no, I mean, St. Louis is a very divided city, as I'm sure you well know, north and south, very clear dividing lines between black and white. And, it just is not great. And so, there are some really great things, though, about this city. And, I think Rung is one of those bright lights. It is certainly a space where all women are welcome. It's a space where, we have created an equal playing ground for any woman that wants to elevate her life. The only requirement is that you identify as a woman and that you are intrinsically motivated to want to change your life. And so aside from that, anyone is welcome to walk through these doors and take advantage of the many services that are offered here on our campus. And so for that opportunity, I am really grateful to be located in St. Louis and to have a small part and play a small part in hopefully starting to change some of the disparities that we see in this community.
Well, man, we are so grateful for y'all. So,
I feel good about the work that we do. I really do.
I know that you've opened the building since COVID, right in the middle of kind of in the throat of COVID. Do you have any stories yet of things that are happening in spite of that?
Simon, I will say that COVID, was devastating for lots of people, and especially devastating for working women. But for me personally, COVID wasn't all bad. 2020 wasn't all bad. I am grateful that, my family did not have any horrible effects from COVID. My daughter was able to go to school. I was able to come to work. We didn't have any major construction delays. We opened our doors in August. We welcomed our staff back in August of 2020. We only had one COVID case in the entire during the entire pandemic. We welcomed our first cohort, and we had just under 1,000 applicants for that first cohort. So, for me, that number demonstrates a necessity.
And so you said 1,000 applicants?
956 applicants to be exact. 956 applicants applied to Rung, and we had 120 slots. So definitely a need. And, for me, it certainly validates that we're necessary, not just nice. Particularly, on the heels of a pandemic, where, I know the last numbers I saw were something like 146,000 women across the country lost jobs. So devastating impact for working women. And the latest numbers I saw were something like this pandemic set women back 140 years. Like it will, well, no, let me correct that. It will take women 140 years to close the gap. The parent, like to get on par with men, it will take us 140 years to catch up. So, like the work that we're doing here to help women reskill, to help them live their lives on purpose, to really, achieve goals, to come up with a family action plan, to figure out where they want to be in 5 or 10 years is like so necessary right now.
Yeah.
So necessary right now.
I mean,
so it's exciting. It's really exciting.
I wish I kind of like had a highlighter, or I feel like I want to underline like every other word you said, like so important. So let's dive into that kind of live your life on purpose. How do you let's zoom, kind of rewind in your life growing up. How did you develop this intrinsic motivation? What's led you to live your life on purpose?
Yeah, well, I will say, my parents were both college educated, and, college was always an expectation for me and my brother. We never really knew anything else, but full recognition that college is not for everyone. But for us, that was, the expectation. And so, went to college thinking, because my parents were both in business, I was like, I'm going to be a lawyer. And so I went to college, like I'm going to law school, got to college, became an English major because I'm like, that's the best path to being a lawyer. And then finished college, and I was kind of like, I'm not sure if I want to be a lawyer anymore. And I honestly, the summer after college, I went to Washington, D.C. and got involved in a local campaign. And, for me, it was like a real, like deep, intimate exposure to community and to community service in a different way. And what it did was it reminded me of another really important theme that our parents instilled in us like throughout our early years, and that was service. Like, we were always involved in an activity, always helping our community, always saw our parents, being involved in civic and business organizations. And, it was embedded in who we were as people. And so it didn't occur to me that like, oh, you can actually like get paid kind of to do service work. And so I got introduced to that in working in local government, like in municipal local government, fresh out of college. I first worked on a campaign. The campaign that I worked for, the mayor got elected as mayor. And he gave me a job. I got out of college. I worked on this campaign. The mayor gave me a job. And I'm like, oh, this is great. Like, what a great way to learn a new city. I'm working in municipal government. I'm learning all sorts of great things. And then I did that for 2 terms, so 8 years. And then he decided he wasn't going to run for re-election. And I'm like, well, what do I want to be when I grow up? And I just kept coming back to this theme of like, service and really being so committed to public service and community, and never really knowing like, oh, I could actually have a career in nonprofits. Like I didn't chart that path. I didn't go to school for that. At the time, there wasn't probably even, majors or degrees in nonprofit management in the way there is now. And so I just sort of landed in this place after I finished my time in DC government. I was kind of like, I think I want to go work for an organization that had really been instrumental in my formative years. So that was like Girl Scouts, Boys and Girls Club. I was a latchkey kid, so I went to the YMCA after school. And it just so happens that the Girl Scouts, when I was ready to transition, I was like, I'll go anywhere in the country. And it just so happens that the Girl Scouts had an open position here in St. Louis,
Cool.
For chief operating officer, the Girl Scout Council here in St. Louis. So I got the job. I came back to St. Louis, and that was really the start of my nonprofit career. And I have had some amazing opportunities ever since in leadership and C-suite roles in a number of local and national nonprofits. And now here at Rung for Women, really getting to build it from the ground up, the entire idea, vision, mission, creation, building, construction, design, and now getting to think about expansion and how we grow and expand our footprint into other markets, and how we really scale our operation beyond St. Louis is just
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a unicorn. I often say, like, if my title could be Chief Unicorn, I would totally take it.
Oh man. So I think, as you're telling your story, like I was following until the Rung opportunity. Can you help us understand, like, was that kind of an entrepreneurial situation? Like, did you, or how did that come to be?
So I was loving, my transformational work at Malone Children and Family Service Center, and Rung had been operating as a resale clothing boutique. Our founder about 10 years ago started a resale clothing boutique to help women dress for the jobs they wanted, as opposed to where they might have been in life at that current time. And so she had been working with, lots of women who were living in shelters or living in transitional living programs, or, just everyday women who wanted a better life for themselves. And the one thing she realized, she had her aha moment and realized, like, women need more than clothes. So it was her vision to really create a space where women could elevate their lives. And she then hired a search firm to find an executive director that could bring her vision to life. And so that's how I got to Rung.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Chief Unicorn. If there is a opportunity to give myself my own unique title, it would be Chief Unicorn.
Yeah. So there's many different types of nonprofits and community organizations. Then you have alongside you schools and places of house of worship, all those kind of things. How do you all at Rung fit into this ecosystem of really supporting folks holistically?
Yeah, so I like to say, we're a systems level organization because we bring a number of nonprofits together under one roof. So really, Rung's responsibility is to identify members. So we screen and vet applicants and then identify them to become members. We identify co-design agencies, so those organizations that have really helped us co-create and co-design the program. And then they provide the direct service, but we hold them accountable to providing that direct service. We manage the building and the campus and hire the coaches who are really their accountability partners. And so it's this really unique blend of like collaboration, accountability, and systems level sort of holistic supports. It's a totally unique model, Simon. We looked across the country trying to find a model that we could replicate that would really bring this holistic set of services under one roof, and we couldn't find anything. And so we decided to co-design and co-create it ourselves, along with a set of 8 local nonprofits.
Okay. And so then with these other nonprofits, like, were they thriving before and prior? Like, do they have a presence outside of Rung?
Yes. So we went through a competitive RFP process in June of 2018. where we invited, hundreds of organizations to come in, hear what we were attempting to do, this really bold experiment, and then they applied to join us. And so we spent the better part of a year really vetting the applications and meeting with boards of directors and going out and visiting all of these agencies. And then we narrowed it down to a finalist group of agencies. And yes, all of them had prior operations. So organizations like Family Care Health Center, who has a location in Holly Hills and a location in the Grove, a federally qualified health center. So, very well established organization.
Absolutely.
Provident Behavior Health, 100+ years old. They've been in this community a really long time. So they have Family Care Health Center actually operates our medical clinic here on site. Provident Behavior Health, they have a therapist here on site. Safe Connections, they have a therapist here on site. The Collective STL was a smaller startup nonprofit.
Wow.
Yoga studio, Black Run Yoga Studio in Old North, and they have a presence here. So a variety of, small and large, old and new, black and white, variety of budget sizes. And that was intentional as well, because, our design model was also to bring organizations together so that they could help each other grow as well and learn from each other.
So if we kind of extrapolate this to something and a challenge that other folks listening might have, I mean, you sometimes as a leader, I mean, you're bringing a team of people together, and then you're serving together as a team. I bet that there's a little bit of that dynamic, but I mean, you're bringing leaders of leaders. You're bringing existing teams in and helping them come together. You're helping. I mean, what's that like as a leader leading other leaders?
Yeah, so we spent that year together. Was a large portion of it was spent building trust. When you talk about not just bringing leaders together, but leaders of organizations who are very territorial about their data, about how they serve their own clients and participants. This was something brand new, a bold experiment. Rung did not have any outcomes or data in this space. And so we were the startup. And so we really had to endear ourselves to these leaders and these organizations. And we had to really establish trust. And so we invested the time to do that. And I think it has really paid significant dividends in how we've been able to operationalize this concept in a way that has been pretty seamless.
Yeah. And then another, a little bit more maybe universal challenge that other folks might have encountered, this idea of a scarcity mentality. So, I mean, you guys are working with folks that probably get a lot of grant dollars, or sometimes it feels like there's one pot of money and everybody's competing for it. And so how have you kind of worked outside of that or helped those folks expand their mentality?
Yeah, I would say that's where, this systems level thinking comes in. We, at the onset of our relationship, said to them, we're going to try to not compete for dollars. We're going to look at funding opportunities that you as an individual probably would not necessarily qualify for. And so, the concept is hopefully that all boats rise together, is I think how the adage goes. And so, just like our program model, like all of us being together under one roof, hopefully we get more people farther faster. The same applies for funding. Like if we can really prove that this model works, ideally we are able to raise more money together than we are individually. Then, and so it's like if we all come together, pool the resources, get more people farther faster, and then show the outcomes of our work together, funders will invest in this model. And then we're able to attract new donors to this collaborative model that you won't attract in your individual funding as an individual funder or as an individual organization.
Yeah. And then this goes a little bit more towards the technology bent, but what do you see the role of data being in caring for people?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, we made a sizable investment in research. So we spent, a year just, doing focus groups, looking at best practices, doing environmental scans, and also, spending time trying to figure out like what is the best data solution, what's the best technology solution to be able to capture all of the data to tell the story of our success. And we knew that very early on, we had to invest in our evaluation process. We had to invest in our technology solution because, with all of these different inputs, we had to be able to tell our story. And we couldn't just be like having this sophisticated program design and manage all the data in an Excel spreadsheet, right? Like
Nope.
that would be silly. And
but thank you also for realizing that.
Yeah, that would be silly. And so we hired experts. We hired the Washington University Evaluation Center to sit with us from the very beginning to design our evaluation process. We hired Spry Digital to help us think about like what should our technology platform look like. Good. What's the best solution? Because we're not technology people. We're not technologists. And so that was not our strength. So we knew we had to go hire that skill set to help us even think about what's the solution here. And then ultimately we made a sizable investment in a database and a CRM solution that is allowing us to collect all of the data on the front end.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is super exciting.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, most organizations don't have the luxury to do that, right? Most of the time you're trying to solution that once you identify a problem. We're proactively designing that solution before we even identify the problem.
Which is, it is a gift.
Yeah, it's a gift. It is certainly a gift.
Two more big questions. One is when you came from, I think Girl Scouts, you said, and then Annie Malone. And so you're coming in with, and the campaigns before that, I'm not trying to discard any of that. So you've been in these service roles. You've been in leadership C-suite roles. You come into Design Rung. What was one of the main things that you're like, I want to, now I get to do the chiropractic adjustment, or now I get to do it from the ground up. Like, what was one of the top things on your list that you wanted to do different?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was really, really committed to economic mobility and not just creating a solution that would get people into jobs, right? Get people into jobs that paid a living wage. So often we hear commentary about, just get a job, just earn a living wage. And, a living wage is just that. It shows that you're living, right? It is not enough to sustain a family. It's not enough to make ends meet typically. And it is what keeps people in poverty. And so for me, the opportunity to build something knowing that this would be life-changing and game-changing for members was the only way I was going to do it. And so, and we're doing it, right? I mean, we spent time looking at labor market data and doing the analysis to say, like, what jobs, what industries will not be obsolete or automated in the next 10 years, right? Because I don't want to put you in a retail supervisor job knowing that, Amazon is the way of the future. So, let's be practical here. Let's look at the data and make sure that we're making data informed decisions and we're not setting people up for failure. And we're helping you think about, like, how are you reskilling to make yourself more marketable for the future of the economy. And so often nonprofits are just trying to solve the immediate problem. No one is looking, no one is being innovative and thinking about, like, what is the future telling us? It's always about here and now. Like, we got to solve food insecurity. Okay, well, how do we look at that 10 years from now? Like, what is the future telling us? Because if I just give you food for right now, next week you're going to still have the same problem.
Preach. Man.
Yeah.
You're quickly becoming one of my heroes. This is awesome.
For me, it was like, we are not going to do things the way it's always been done. And
I think, too, again, just to make it practical for people, because this is on a scale that some listeners won't, be operating at. But it's like sometimes when people say that we're going to do things, it's like a maverick, like you, one person, are going to do this. But I mean, you didn't just leave anybody behind, right? I mean, you have to bring all these leaders of leaders, all of these teams to that same conclusion together.
Well, and it took us 3 years, right? Like it took us 3 years. It took a philanthropist, right? Having the guts and the courage to, like, change the narrative and to lead the conversation and to be bold enough to say, like, I believe that this is the right thing to do, and to put her resources behind changing the narrative, and to not just keep helping people stay where they are. It's like pushing them up the rungs on the ladder. Like, we are not going to keep you on a broken ladder. We are not going to keep you at the bottom of the ladder. We are going to help lift you up. We want to elevate your life. And
this is not just the gathering at the bottom of the ladder.
No.
So, like,
I mean, the days of gathering at the bottom of the ladder are over for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is hopefully a good, challenging question. Hopefully not too challenging, but I'm not trying to blow smoke here, but the way that you all have designed this campus, even down to that point, I mean, I just feel like that there's dignity even in that. It's like the landscaping is nice. And I mean, every part of it is just like, this is a point of dignity and not just a thing. And so with all that said, you've done incredible work to date. Zoom ahead 20 years. Like, what's the vision for, what's different in our communities and in the community of women down the road?
Yeah. I mean, first and foremost, we have a stronger, healthier, safer St. Louis and, Baltimore, Philly, Pittsburgh, other communities that Minneapolis, places that look like St. Louis. And we have a stronger middle class, right? The gap, hopefully, the disparities that we talked about in the beginning of the show are starting to close, and people are healthier and they have more money and they have, savings, and they're able to buy homes and send kids to college, or, at least send them on their way beyond high school, whatever that may look like. Women are healthy and prosperous and, have access to quality healthcare and mental health resources when they need them and when they want them. And Rung is a resource, and we continue to help women elevate their lives, and we don't keep people in poverty. We're constantly evolving and looking at, new and interesting career pathways to expose women to, which is what we're doing now, whether it be technology, trades, health sciences, customer service, we're continuing to be evolutionary in that way. But I mean, I do want to address, Simon, your notion around the campus, and our design elements were really intentional because in our research, we didn't ever want this space to feel institutional. We also didn't ever want it to feel like a traditional social service agency, right? Because so often people who have lived in poverty for generations or, found themselves in this place for whatever reason, job loss, medical issue, whatever the case may be, are made to feel less than just because they have to go use a food pantry or they have to ask for help. And, coming to Rung is a resource, but it's not because you're less than. Sometimes people just need a hand up, not a hand out.
Oh my gosh. They do.
I mean, we've all been there, right? Yep. And so, our philosophy is we don't want anyone to ever feel less than because they have to walk through our doors. Or like they shouldn't be here. And so, while we are a helping organization, we also are very fundamentally to our core empowering. And, we want you to walk through those doors and be empowered. And we invite joy at every opportunity. And so that fundamentally is who we are. And so that is intentional in every single design element of this building, of our campus, of our mission, of how we deliver our program, and how we are in service to our members. And so, we looked at a number of nonprofits as a standard of what we did not want to be.
I see. No, and it's really important. It's really important. And I think, maybe, there's been books like The Experience Economy and stuff like that written. But I mean, even just two quick examples of like going to the Social Security office. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
Almost like you want to poke your eyes out or for people that are in the St. Louis region, like Clayton, like there's a good majority of people that go to Clayton to be some way around the prison system or the courthouse. And that's what Clayton is. And that's not an inviting situation.
No, well, I mean, I never forget when we were doing market research in 2017, 18, there was a woman that we talked to, and she was referencing a local nonprofit, and she said it was like going to the welfare office. And I was like, yeah, that's certainly not what we want to be. I mean, and this is a very well-known nonprofit organization that gets millions of dollars from donors every year. And she was like, I felt like I was less than because I had to walk through those doors. And I'm like, that should not be what our nonprofits are known for, right? No. That is not what helping agencies should be. Like, people should not feel like they're less than because they have to go to these places that are in communities to help people. That is just criminal.
Yeah, and I think, there's different styles of leadership. I forget all 5 or 6. There was some Harvard Business article I read once upon a time. I know that I did pace setting too much. And so I decided I wanted to deprioritize. But I guess my point was going to be that you all are pace setting in a way that hopefully raises the bar for your peers. And I just think that's phenomenal.
Well, I sure hope so. I mean, we certainly have 8 other organizations that are co-located in this building who have been brilliant thought partners with us, who certainly we subscribe to their thought partnership and leadership, and they subscribe to our philosophies. So at least there are 8 or 9 of us who are kind of in this boat together, and hopefully we will bring others along.
Cool. Well, first of all, I said it, and I'm not making stuff up. You're quickly becoming one of my heroes.
Thank you.
Leading in this way, it's just tremendous. I also a couple of our kids, before they came to our home, spent a couple nights in Andy Malone, and I just want to say thank you for giving them a safe place. It means a lot to me.
Yeah, hardest work I've ever done, and I just wish I could have done more. But it is that system is very, very broken.
Yeah, and
that's another conversation. But
I thought about going there, and then I'm like, that's a whole nother thing. So maybe we'll have to do a separate. But I just really appreciate you. Thanks for all you're doing, and just know that we're cheering you on.
Oh, thank you so much, and I hope to see you soon.
Okay, thanks, Leslie.
Take care.